Hey, this is Nicholas, and this video is a review of the category Herbs that Tonify Blood. This is actually an excerpt from a course that I made that reviews all of the single herbs. It's on Teachable right now for $40, so if you're interested in that, we'll talk more about that at the end. For now, let's take a look at Herbs that Tonify Blood. Next is Herbs that Tonify Blood. So these herbs treat blood deficiency, and this has a wide range of symptoms. If blood fails to reach the head, we can have dizziness and tinnitus. If blood fails to nourish the eyes, we can have dry eyes, blurred vision, floaters in the vision, or poor night vision. If blood fails to nourish the sinews, we can have numbness and tingling, spasm and contraction, or even tremor. The nails are the surplus of the sinews, so we can have dry, brittle nails. If blood fails to nourish the heart, we can see Shen problems like palpitation, anxiety, insomnia, or forgetfulness. And menses is a big one too. If there's just not enough blood to form the period, we may see scanty menses, late menses, or even amenorrhea. So these herbs are warm and sweet because they tonify. They tend to enter the liver and heart channels because that's what we're tonifying. We're tonifying liver blood or tonifying heart blood. Cautions we want to pay attention to: these herbs definitely tend to be sticky and cloying, and they very easily cause digestive problems. So again, it's common to combine them with moving herbs to prevent stagnation. Shu Di Huang is prepared Rehmannia, and it tonifies blood. In fact, it's one of our main herbs for all types of blood deficiency. But besides that, also very important, it tonifies kidney yin as well. So a lot of our formulas for yin deficiency have Shu Di Huang as a main ingredient. And then we can also say it tonifies kidney essence. But I feel like that kind of goes along with blood and yin. So weak low back and knees, dizziness and tinnitus, poor memory, premature graying of hair, and stuff like that. So remember back in the cool the blood category, we learned Sheng Di Huang, which is raw Rehmannia. Sheng means raw or unprepared. Well, this is prepared Rehmannia. Shu means cooked or prepared. So the way they prepare it is they take the raw herb and soak it in wine and then steam it. And that changes the temperature from cold to warm. So remember, Sheng Di Huang cools the blood, Shu Di Huang tonifies blood. They both have an action of tonifying yin. The name means prepared earth yellow. Because it's a thick, dense root, the dosage is larger than average, 9 to 30 grams. And this one is definitely sticky and cloying and can easily cause upset stomach. So it's common to combine it with moving herbs like Chen Pi, Mu Xiang, or Sha Ren. Next is Dongwei. What we need to know about this one is that it both tonifies blood and invigorates blood. So this is one of our most commonly used herbs for women's health conditions because that's what we're usually treating: blood deficiency and blood stagnation. It also moistens the large intestine to treat constipation, so constipation due to blood deficiency, and that comes up in a few formulas. The name Dongwei means state of return or ought to return. So I've heard a couple stories about this. One was about a guy who went into the mountains, I guess to harvest this herb, and he got stuck in a snowstorm for 7 years, and when he came back, his wife had married someone else, so he should have returned sooner. Maybe one that makes more sense is this herb is used in postpartum conditions, and it returns things to normal because it both tonifies blood and invigorates blood. Bai Xiao is white peony. Bai Xiao tonifies blood, and its specialty is that it softens the liver, relaxes the liver, or Wiseman says emoliates the liver. Basically, by nourishing liver blood, it softens the liver to treat cramping, spasm, and pain. The other thing we should know is Bai Xiao is cool in temperature, so it's good for blood deficiency with heat signs. And then we also say that Bai Xiao constrains yin or preserves yin to stop sweating, and that's why it's sour in flavor. And this has to do with the fact that it's combined with Gui Zhi to treat Taiyang deficiency syndrome. Remember, that was fever and chills with sweating. So Bai Xiao preserves yin and stops sweating. This is a really interesting combination, but I don't think we need to talk about it here. I have another video about Dui Yao pairs on the YouTube channel, so if you want to know more about Gui Zhi plus Bai Xiao, you can take a look at that. And we can also point out that Bai Xiao is white peony. Earlier, we learned Chi Xiao, which is red peony. So Chi Xiao invigorates blood and cools blood. Bai Xiao tonifies blood. Next is Zhi He Shou, which means Mr. He's black hair. So from that name, we can infer that specialty is tonifying blood, tonifying essence, to darken the hair. So this comes from a Taoist story about a guy named Mr. He, who was born with a weak constitution. I mean, he was also an alcoholic, but most of the good Taoists were. So he had all these symptoms like weak low back, premature graying of hair, and impotence. He couldn't have children. So one day, when he was drunk, he saw these vines, and he thought they looked like two people making love. So he dug up the roots, took this herb, and that gave him youthful vigor, his hair turned black, he got married and had like 17 children, and lived to be 120. So yeah, it tonifies blood and tonifies essence. It can also moisten the large intestine and clear heat toxicity, but that's in its raw form. Zhihe Shouwu is the prepared form, and that's the one that tonifies blood and tonifies essence. Oh, and it also goes by the name Faux T in the West, but that's a made-up name. It's like Westerners wanted to market it as a supplement, and they wanted a name that sounded Asian but was easy to pronounce, so they came up with Faux T. But the real name is He Shouwu. Jiao is donkey gelatin, or what we can also call ass hide glue. What's special about this one is it both tonifies blood and stops bleeding. And that's convenient because long-term bleeding, like with heavy menses or spotting, can very easily lead to blood deficiency. And we don't have a lot of herbs that do both, tonify blood and stop bleeding. It also tonifies yin, especially for dry cough. So maybe you can think that donkeys are loud, they hee-haw and use their lungs a lot, so jiao is good for the lungs. And this is basically donkey glue, so maybe you can think about using glue to stop bleeding. And because it's a gelatin, you don't cook it in decoction, you just melt it in at the end. Gochita is Goji Berry. It tonifies yin and blood, and its specialty is that it brightens the eyes. So dizziness, blurred vision, or diminished visual acuity. In fact, we often pair it with another herb we learned for brightening eyes, Juhua, chrysanthemum flower. So Gochita and Juhua is a common pair for eye issues or vision problems. And Gochita also moistens the lung. In fact, some books will put this in the tonify yin category. But Bensky puts it here, so Gochita tonifies both blood and yin. Sangshen is mulberry fruit. Again, sang means mulberry, like sangzhi, mulberry twig, sangbai pea, mulberry bark, or sangji sheng. But yeah, this one tonifies yin, tonifies blood, and moistens the large intestine. So this is just a nice, gentle tonifying herb that won't upset the stomach. Longyan is Longyan fruit. This one tonifies blood to calm shen. So palpitation, insomnia, anxiety, or forgetfulness when both the heart and the spleen are deficient. So this is especially for when overwork or overthinking cause shen problems. It comes up in the famous formula Gui Pitong, which a lot of students take. The name Longyan means dragon eye flesh. So, Shudi Huang tonifies blood, tonifies yin, and tonifies essence. It's very sticky and cloying. Dongwei tonifies blood and invigorates blood. It's one of the most common women's health herbs. Baishao is cool in temperature and it relaxes the liver. He Shouwu tonifies blood and essence, especially for premature graying of hair. Jiao is donkey gelatin or donkey glue. It tonifies blood and stops bleeding. Gochita tonifies blood to brighten eyes. Sangshen is just a gentle tonic, both blood and yin. Longyan tonifies blood to calm shen. So that's herbs that tonify blood. So like I said, that was an excerpt from an online course that goes over all of the single herbs. Basically a review of all the things you learn in your first year of studying Chinese herbs. So the course is on Teachable and it has 5 modules. So maybe you could do like 1 module per week for 5 weeks. The first module reviews basic properties like taste, temperature, and entering channels. The second module is a review of the categories. And the last 3 modules are just a review of all the herbs, similar to what we just saw with herbs that tonify blood. Each module has handouts that go with it, either lecture slides or tables summarizing the herbs. Each module has a practice test that goes along with it. There are over 150 practice questions total. And if you're not into watching videos, you can also download the audio portion of each lecture and follow along with the notes or listen to it in the car. So who is this course for? Well, this was designed as a review for students who are taking year-end comprehensive exams or for students who just want an overall review of all the herbs before they move into their formula classes. But the way it's set up, if you're in the middle of your herbs classes, this could be a review for just that one course or just that final. So if you're in herbs 1, you could watch just the herbs 1 section and then save the rest for later until you get further along. So is this a good review for boards? Maybe. I actually don't know what's on board tests anymore. I've heard a lot of people say that it focuses more on formulas, and this is not a formula review class. This is only single herbs. But I've also heard people say that it's important to know formula modifications, so it could be that by reviewing single herbs, that will help you answer questions about formula modifications. And I want to mention that this is not a subscription thing. This is, you buy the course once and then you have it forever. So if you want to use it as a semester review now, and then look at it again 2 years from now when you take boards, you can do that. And if I make updates to it, which I plan on doing, those are included and you won't be paying extra for extra modules that get added in later. So if you're interested in that, the course is available now on teachable.com. It's $40 and the link is in the description below. But that's all for today. Thanks and see you next time.